They came from the sky. They brought knowledge, power, and then they vanished. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, gods who descended from the heavens to shape human destiny. Even the Bible speaks of watchers and giants born from unions with beings not of this world. Sounds like pure myth, right? But what if these aren't just old stories? What if their blood still runs through some of us today? Are the Anunnaki, or their descendants, living quietly among us, pulling the strings of our modern world? We'll find out together in this new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome. The story of the Anunnaki begins in the land of ancient Sumer, more than 6,000 years ago. In the wide plains between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, one of the world's first civilizations began to write its history on clay tablets. These people were the Sumerians, and in their earliest writings, they told of powerful beings who came from the heavens, beings they called the Anunnaki. According to the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were not ordinary gods. They were part of a vast cosmic family that began with two prime forces, An, the god of the sky, and Kai, the goddess of the earth. From their union came many children, divine beings who lived in the heavens but also traveled to earth. These celestial visitors became known as the Anunnaki, a name that means those who came from Anu, or simply, those from the heavens. The Sumerians described the Anunnaki as wise and powerful. They were said to control rain, wind, crops, and judgment. Each god had a specific role. Enlil ruled the air and enforced divine laws. Enki, his brother, guided wisdom and technology and had a deep connection to water and creation. Some stories described Enki creating rivers and canals, helping humans survive in the hot Mesopotamian climate. The Anunnaki were said to build great cities, such as Eridu, Uruk, and Nippur. These cities were places where gods and people lived side by side. Temples called ziggurats rose from the plains, acting as bridges between the heavens and the earth. The tablets often spoke of powerful laws and technologies given to humans by the gods. These included tools of writing, architecture, mathematics, and medicine. According to the stories, the Anunnaki gave these gifts to help humans build a proper society. But that's only the beginning of what's said about the Anunnaki. Thousands of years after these tablets were written, a new theory would bring the Anunnaki into the modern conversation. In the 1970s, a writer named Zecharia Sitchin published a series of books that offered a different explanation for these ancient stories. He carefully studied the same cuneiform texts, but instead of reading them as myth, he interpreted them as historical and scientific records. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki were not spiritual deities, but intelligent beings from another world. He believed they came from a distant planet called Nibiru, which follows a long orbit around our sun. This planet, Sitchin said, only passes near Earth once every 3,600 years. Sitchin's theory suggested that the Anunnaki arrived on Earth in the deep past, long before modern humans existed. Their goal was simple: to mine Earth's natural resources, especially gold, which they needed for their planet's atmosphere. They landed in the region of southern Mesopotamia and began extracting minerals using their own advanced tools and knowledge. But the work was difficult even for them, so the Anunnaki decided to create a new worker, a being that could handle physical labor but also follow instructions and live on Earth. According to Sitchin's reading of Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki selected a native species already living on Earth, a type of early hominid. Then, using a process of genetic engineering, they combined their own DNA with that of these early beings. The result was the first modern human. In Sumerian stories, the goddess Ninhursag worked alongside Enki in a special place called the House of Creation. There, they formed a new being by shaping it from clay, a word that Sitchin believes symbolized biological material. The text spoke of multiple trials, early versions that failed, until finally one prototype succeeded. It could speak, understand, and reproduce. The Anunnaki named it Adamu, a name very close to the word Adam found in later biblical texts. Over time, more humans were created. They were sent to work in mines and fields, especially in a region Sitchin called Abzu, believed to be somewhere in Africa. As generations passed, humans spread out and learned the ways of their creators. The knowledge of farming, architecture, calendars, and writing came not from human invention, but from Anunnaki instruction. But some say the Anunnaki gave more than knowledge, they gave blood. If Zecharia Sitchin was right, then we are all, in some way, the children of the Anunnaki. The idea that the Anunnaki created modern humans is already mysterious enough, but some ancient sources hint that certain people weren't just created by the gods, but were born from them. Thousands of years ago in the ancient city of Uruk, a powerful king ruled the land. His name was Gilgamesh. His story is found in what is believed to be the oldest surviving piece of literature in human history, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was no ordinary king. Ancient Sumerian tablets described him as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. According to the texts, he was the son of a mortal man and a goddess named Ninsun. His strength, wisdom, and arrogance were all attributed to this divine heritage. His story was filled with adventures, battles, and quests to uncover the secrets of immortality. Gilgamesh wasn't the only figure described this way. Many rulers in the ancient world were said to descend from the gods, not metaphorically, but literally. In Sumerian texts, some kings were called sons of Anu, the name of the sky god. Others were described as those chosen by Enlil, the powerful god who ruled over the earth. These titles may have meant more than just political power. To the people of the time, they were proof of divine blood. These kings were believed to carry something within them, a spark of the gods themselves. Their rule was not earned by vote or by war, but inherited through a sacred bloodline. This idea wasn't limited to Sumer. In Egypt, pharaohs claimed descent from Ra, the sun god. In Japan, emperors traced their lineage back to the goddess Amaterasu. In Mesoamerica, rulers were believed to be descended from celestial beings sent to Earth to lead. But what if those celestial bloodlines didn't end with myth? According to Sitchin's theory, the Anunnaki didn't just create humans, they also lived among them. Over time, they took human partners, forming a unique bloodline. These hybrid offspring, Sitchin said, were stronger, smarter, and longer lived. They became kings, priests, and advisors. In every civilization, the rulers were divine not only in title but by birth. If all of this is to be believed, then it means one thing. The world's royal families may be the true keepers of the Anunnaki gene. And because these traits were passed down through blood, the line had to be protected. That's why, throughout history, royal families have always married within a closed circle. In Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, kings, queens, and emperors have carefully preserved their lineage, often at great political and personal cost. This brings us to one of the most mysterious clues in modern science, the Rh negative blood type. Most people in the world, about 85%, have Rh positive blood. That means they carry a protein on their red blood cells known as the Rh factor or rhesus factor. But around 15% of the human population doesn't have this protein. For Rh negative individuals, receiving blood from a positive donor can trigger a serious immune reaction. Even more curiously, if an Rh negative woman becomes pregnant with an Rh positive baby, Her immune system may attack the fetus, treating her own child as a threat. Doctors today can manage this condition with medication, but in the past, it often led to tragic outcomes. This biological barrier raised an important question. If all humans come from the same ancestors, why would this kind of rejection happen? Some researchers believe this could point to something ancient, a divergence in the human story that goes far deeper than we're taught in school. Rh-negative blood may not have evolved naturally in the same way as Rh-positive blood. In fact, some believe it didn't evolve at all, but if it didn't come from us, then where did it come from? Rh-negative blood is most common in Europe, and especially concentrated in one place, the Pyrenees Mountains, between France and Spain. Here, in this isolated region, lives a unique ethnic group known as the Basques, and they are different in more ways than one. The Basque people speak a language unlike any other in the world. It has no clear connection to Latin, Celtic, or Germanic languages. Their customs are old, their roots mysterious, and up to 35% of the Basque population has Rh-negative blood, more than double the global average. Some theorists believe the Basques may be the last living descendants of Atlantis, a lost civilization often described as far more advanced than any other of its time. According to this idea, the survivors of Atlantis carried with them not only advanced knowledge, but also a unique genetic legacy. Because Atlantis is sometimes linked to ancient visitors or teachers from the stars, many researchers have drawn a connection between the Atlanteans and the Anunnaki. If the Anunnaki once shared their knowledge with early humans, then it's possible they played a role in shaping the Atlantean world as well. And just when the mystery seemed strange enough, it got even stranger. Even beyond the Basques, people with Rh-negative blood often report unusual traits. But it's not just biology that makes this blood type so intriguing. It's the mystery of its origin. Rh-negative blood didn't appear in the Americas, Asia, or sub-Saharan Africa until after European colonization. That means it wasn't naturally present in the human populations of those regions. It had to be introduced. This challenges the conventional out-of-Africa model of human evolution, which holds that all humans descended from a single source. If that were the case, Rh-negative blood should have existed everywhere, but it didn't. It seems to have come from one place and spread outward from there. So what could this mean? Some believe Rh-negative blood is a genetic marker left behind by the Anunnaki. If the Anunnaki had a different biological structure than Earth-born life, their genes may have been incompatible with the humans they helped engineer, and Rh-negative blood could be the result of that cross-species mixing. Does it mean that everyone with Rh-negative blood is in some way a descendant of the Anunnaki? That may sound extreme, but then again, some things are simply too strange to be explained by coincidence alone, right? Another controversial voice in the world of ancient mysteries is a British writer named David Icke. In the 1990s, Icke introduced a theory that shocked many people. He said that powerful leaders around the world, presidents, royalty, and even bankers, were not entirely human. According to him, they are the descendants of Anunnaki. But Icke took this idea one step further. He claimed the Anunnaki were not just gods or aliens. In his interpretation, they were shape-shifting reptiles from another star system. Icke said these reptilian beings came to Earth thousands of years ago. According to his book The Biggest Secret, the Anunnaki hid in underground bases and began controlling human societies from behind the scenes. To do this, they needed to blend in. So, Icke claims, they created bloodlines, half human, half reptilian. These hybrid families were placed into positions of power across ancient kingdoms. Over time, these bloodlines spread into modern governments, royal dynasties, and secretive organizations. He believes that the ruling elite today, including the British royal family, American political dynasties, and wealthy banking families all share a common genetic link. This is where the idea of blue blood takes on a new meaning. For Icke, it's not just a poetic way to describe nobility. He says it is literal, a different kind of blood, passed down carefully through generations, meant to preserve their connection to the Anunnaki. But that connection may have started in a place we were never meant to find. According to Icke, this bloodline goes back to a time before recorded history, when the Anunnaki arrived from a star system called Alpha Draconis. He says they established a center on Earth, possibly the same place that Sumerian tablets called Edin, the abode of the righteous ones. This place later became known as the Garden of Eden. From there, the Anunnaki began mixing with humans, not just to create life, but to rule it. Icke's theory explains why certain families have held power for so long. He believes they are not chosen by chance or by the will of the people, but by blood. He calls this system a global control network, one that operates quietly, using ancient knowledge and advanced technology. He also believes that these beings continue to influence modern events. Wars, financial crises, and even pandemics, Icke claims, are part of a long-term plan to keep humanity divided and distracted, while the hidden bloodlines maintain control. But he didn't stop there. What he said next was even harder to believe. According to him, the reptilian descendants often appear human, but under certain conditions they can shift their appearance. Some people have claimed to witness strange changes in the eyes or skin of public figures during live broadcasts. This idea may sound like science fiction, and many experts have criticized Icke's views, calling them bizarre or dangerous. But despite the backlash, his theory has gained a global following. Today, people in over 40 countries attend his lectures and read his books. For those who believe him, the signs are everywhere: the concentration of power in certain families, the secrecy of elite groups, and the repeated use of ancient symbols. They say the same bloodline has ruled from ancient Sumer to Egypt to medieval Europe and all the way into the boardrooms and parliaments of today. And at the heart of this theory is one striking idea: that some humans even now may not be fully human at all. But why would these ancient beings want their descendants in power? Icke believes the answer is control. He says the Anunnaki feed not only on resources, but on human fear and conflict. By keeping humans divided through war, poverty, and political chaos, they maintain their influence and energy. And by placing their bloodline in the highest positions of authority, they ensure their goals continue generation after generation. What's even more disturbing is that a story similar to the Anunnaki appears in the Bible itself. But what if they were really writing about the same beings, only under a different name? According to one of the oldest and most mysterious verses in the Bible, strange beings once walked the earth. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 4, it says, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them." These giants are known as the Nephilim. Many researchers believe they were not just big people, but hybrids. According to this theory, the sons of God were not ordinary men. They were powerful beings from the heavens. Some believe these were the same entities known in Mesopotamian texts as the Anunnaki, advanced beings or fallen angels who descended to earth. In this view, the Anunnaki of ancient Sumer and the fallen angels of the Bible are one and the same. Both are described as beings who came from the sky, shared advanced knowledge, and later crossed a forbidden line, mating with human women. Their children were the Nephilim, a race said to be taller, stronger, and more violent than normal people. These Nephilim became feared across the ancient world. Their presence, some believe, was one of the reasons for the Great Flood. In the story of Noah, God sees the earth filled with corruption and violence and chooses to wipe out nearly all life. The Bible suggests the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood, but that might not be the full story. In later books of the Bible, after the time of Noah, strange groups begin to appear again. People who were taller, stronger, and more terrifying than normal men. The first are the Anakim. These giants were described in the Book of Numbers when Israelite spies entered the land of Canaan. The spies returned with a warning. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. The Anakim were believed to be direct descendants of the Nephilim. They lived in fortified cities, high in the hills. In some texts, they are even described as the sons of Anak, a mysterious figure who may have been a post-flood hybrid himself. Another group mentioned in the Bible is the Rephaim. They were also giants and lived in the same region. Some of their cities were described as having enormous stone beds and dwellings. Other names appear too, the Emim, the Zuzim, and the Zamzumim, all said to be mighty and large people who once lived in the lands around Canaan. Over time, many of these giant tribes were pushed out or defeated by the Israelites. Some escaped to Philistine cities on the coast, where one of the most famous giants in history would later appear. One of the last known giants in the Bible was Goliath. Described in the first book of Samuel, he was a warrior from the city of Gath. He stood over 9 feet tall and wore armor too heavy for most men to carry. Goliath's size, strength, and fearsome presence made him unlike any normal soldier. Many believe he was a direct descendant of the Anakim, one of the last living reminders of the Nephilim bloodline. Some theorists believe traces of Nephilim DNA still exist in certain human families, especially those tied to ancient tribes, royal lines, or priesthoods. These people might not be giants, but they may carry something unusual in their genes. Strength, intelligence, or even a different kind of blood. So, are the Anunnaki descendants among us today? The truth is that we may never know for sure if today's royal families carry the blood of the Anunnaki, or if world leaders really have blue blood from shape-shifting reptiles who came from the stars. But one thing is clear, something once walked this earth that was not fully human. In modern times, stories have surfaced that seem to echo the ancient tales, stories of giants with strange features and impossible strength seen by people who had no reason to lie. Take, for example, the giant of Kandahar. In 2002, during a military mission in the remote mountains of Afghanistan, a group of American soldiers came upon a strange cave. What they found inside would never appear in any official report. According to interviews with former military personnel, a massive humanoid creature emerged from the shadows, at least 12 feet tall, with fiery red hair, pale skin, 6 fingers on each hand, and a weapon the size of a telephone pole. The creature attacked with incredible speed, killing one soldier instantly. The rest opened fire, using everything they had. After a long battle, the giant finally collapsed. But before anyone could document it, a helicopter arrived, took the body, and flew off. It was never seen again. The military went silent, but the soldiers never forgot. Then there's Lovelock Cave in Nevada. Back in 1911, miners searching for bat guano stumbled upon something much more shocking: the preserved remains of red-haired giants, measuring between 8 and 10 feet tall. Archaeologists recovered sandals over 15 inches long and tools made for hands far bigger than ours. Local native tribes, like the Paiute, had long told stories of the Sitekar, a race of violent red-haired giants who once roamed the region. Mainstream science has tried to explain the red hair as a trick of time and temperature. But similar legends exist all across the Americas, and all of these modern theories echo what was written in ancient Sumer, in Genesis, and on temple walls across the world. So maybe the question isn't if the Anunnaki have descendants walking among us. Maybe the real question is, have they ever truly left? If this has you wondering, don't stop here. Check out our video on the tall whites, aliens some say are living quietly among us even now. Or dive into the Ice Wall Guardians and find out why so many believe something is watching us from beyond the Antarctic ice walls. If you enjoyed this, give it a like and subscribe. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.